In this short video, I'm going to detail the expectations for the quarter-long project so you guys can go ahead and get started on this as soon as possible, with also knowing all the details that you're going to need to complete throughout the quarter. So the first thing to understand is the goal of this project is for you to create a large document called a case study. Now, most people haven't read a case study or don't really understand what a case study is. So we're going to be referring to a specific case study in many places throughout the curriculum in this quarter, which is the Lentz Neighborhood Floodplain Restoration. And this is the quarter description underneath the document underneath the quarter-long project. If you scroll down just a little bit under project criteria, you'll see that I refer to the 2004 Lentz report. And you can't see it on my document here, but when you click on it on D2L, this here will be highlighted with a link where you can go to the report and read it yourself. So, and a good idea before you start this project is to click here and go to this report and just peruse it, read certain parts. But what you'll see immediately is that it's pretty extensive. And it's a professional report, and so there are a lot of pieces and details in there that you guys might not have exactly in your reports. So your reports are going to be shorter than this. Maybe not quite as detailed in some areas, but the idea here is to use this as your case study that you are trying to emulate, even though it's not going to look exactly the same as this. So the report is your final assignment, and you're going to have 4 other assignments throughout the quarter that help you build this report because it's a large document. So in the project description here, I'm going to scroll down, and in the project description, I've just given you a brief overview of what these 4 assignments are going to be about. In the first assignment, you're going to pick your system and do a description. In the second assignment, you're going to draw an ecosystem services diagram with a description. In the third assignment, you're going to create a causal diagram with a description. And in your fourth assignment, it's what we call the first draft of the case study, but it's the first 3 assignments compiled together along with a separate piece called the valuation summary. Now, each of these will be described in more detail as we go throughout the quarter, and this is just a brief overview of them here. If you go into the quarter-long project folder, you will see assignment 1 already has a document on there with a description of what you need to do for it. So if you want to know more details about assignment 1, you can read about it there. We have not posted the assignment 2, 3, or 4 details yet, and you will get those after assignment 1 is due. So you'll do assignment 1 first, and then once that's turned in, we'll open up the details for assignment 2. So you don't want to work on these together. You want to work on these in series. So each assignment will build the different parts of your report, and if you scroll down in the description, you will see the names of the sections for your report. So your report is going to have an introduction, which includes the description of the system, historical impacts, and the reasons for the assessment. You're going to have a methods section, which is going to contain the causal diagram and a description, an ecosystem services diagram and a description, and a description of other methods you use to identify your system. And we'll have more detail on that in a little bit. And then the results are going to have a description of your valuation summary. And as you get to assignment 2 and 3 and 4, I will have a more detailed description of what each of these things are. So when you put your final report together, you'll actually be compiling your assignments 1, 2, 3, and 4 together. And your discussion section will just be a description of the total worth of the system and a description of your system, how it could be better managed through adaptive management. You will learn more about adaptive management in some of the later sections of this course. So this is an overview of what will go into each section. And before the paper is due, I will have a little bit more detail and a rubric for this final paper, but you don't need that yet. What you need to focus on first is the system that you are going to choose. So I'm going to scroll back up here in the description, and you notice assignment 1 says you're going to pick your system and describe the components. So you're not allowed to just pick anything for this course. If you scroll back down to the second, third, and fourth pages, you'll notice that we've given you some example case studies, and you need to choose one of these 4 examples. So you can't choose any system, you need to choose one of these 4. So your first task is going to be to look over that Lentz case study. Your second task is going to be to read over the descriptions of each of the possible systems that you can do your case studies on. And with each system, there's a bunch of links that will describe this system. So you'll go to each of those and read them. The more detail here you read, the better it is, because it'll help you pick your system. So the second system is a wetlands and river temperature system. The first system is a urban air pollution and temperature is controlled by trees. The third possible one is water provisioning through watershed management, and these links will get you to either using the New York City water system as your system, or a system from Bogota, Colombia as your system. So this one is kind of an either or choice there. And then the last one is a dam removal in Oregon, and this is a specific dam removal. So read about each of these extensively, and then you'll pick your system. And once you pick which one you think you want to do for your system, you'll look at the description of assignment number 1. You will complete all the requirements for assignment number 1, which the first step will be to pick the system, and the second step will be to describe some different components of it. It's a more detailed than just a paragraph description. You'll do a lot more. So you'll actually start studying your system, and then you'll turn in assignment 1. Once you've turned assignment 1 in, you can't change to another system. You're locked into that system. You've already started the process. So in each of the assignments, you are going to turn in a document that I am going to read and give you feedback on, and then you will use that feedback when you write your final report. So your final report will essentially be a rewrite of each of the other assignments that you've done using the feedback that I've given you, and that will give you hopefully a very large document that is detailed with the things in it that need to be in there, and you've edited it a couple times. A good place to start before you even read the Lentz document is to click on some of these and get some good references for how green infrastructure works and how evaluating ecosystem services works. This isn't mandatory as far as linking to these or referring to them in your reports, but this will kind of give you a good idea of what these things are about. And then you'll start the whole process of reading about your system. The last bit of advice that I want to give you for this is each of these 4 assignments that you'll do before you do your final paper, you could just kind of write some words down and get some feedback from me, or you could write a lot and be as detailed as you can. And if you do that, I can give you much better feedback. So if you view each of these as kind of a rough draft, then you'll get feedback from me on your rough draft, and then you can use my feedback a lot better when you're creating your final report. So the more work you put into each of the assignments, and I'll scroll back up here to the assignments, the more work you put into each of these, the better your final grade is going to be, because I can give you better feedback on what you've written, and you can use that feedback a lot more effectively. So good luck, and if you have any questions about this, send an email through the D2L site.